Okay, assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome back to our 37th, I believe, or 36th week studying the 29th word, which is about angels, immortality of spirits, and the resurrection. So, 9 months, if we just take the weeks, but I think we're coming up on a year in the study. So thank you, everyone who has been with us on the journey as we keep kind of delving into these topics, the principles of faith, as they are called. So last week we read the third matter in the second aims, fourth fundamental point. And, the section headings can be hard to keep track of, but I'm just saying them in case, for some people it's just a bit easier to kind of visualize it that way. And also it creates familiarity with the text because it's a reference text. So it's good to know where things are situated, generally speaking. So if someone says, where can I go to read about belief in angels? You can at least say, the 29th word in the words. And also you can keep coming back to it as you develop your tafakkur practice, inshallah. So last week we read the third matter, and I thought we had a really, really productive discussion. I took a lot from last week's halakha personally, and it's been on my mind every day. So I'm very grateful to everyone who, participated, and Dr. Yamina, of course. So some of my notes from last week, and some reminders is that all creation, every moment, is being created with meaning. And when I look at the meaning, Melekut, beautiful names side of this creation, these manifestations, it is kind of filling it in or enlightening me, enlightening my world with that aspect. But if I get caught on the milk side, the physical aspect, the outer appearance, the shell, then I invite a sort of darkness. So some of the opposites that we've been talking about and some of the concepts that we've been comparing the past few months has been, milk and malakut, inner reality, outer reality, permanence, eternity versus transience. So these are all things that we are invited to witness and reflect on every day, every moment. And the more we develop like awareness of these things, the more we will, inshallah, have certainty and yaqeen. So this is the hope, the intention, our dua for our halakas, and it's just good to kind of remind ourselves why we're studying the text, why we're here 8:30 on a Tuesday evening, inshallah. My purpose is to get to know the one that brought me here, and the only constant in the universe is the beautiful names. This is something we keep coming back to. And I find it really, it's very, like, it sounds very simple, but I've benefited a lot just by like coming back to it. So last week, one of these things we talked about was, in this universe, things of opposite nature seemingly are mixed together, beauty and ugliness, benefit and harm, perfection and defect, light and darkness. And there is always change, transformation, and we have this tree metaphor with these branches, and they're kind of, one of them is going to paradise, one of them is going to hell. And we talked about how that manifests in my life here and now. So how I'm looking at the world, how I'm making sense of events around me, things happening to me in my life, and which branch am I standing on at each moment of creation. So I can either connect with the beautiful names, and this is how I understood it. Connect with the Melekut side, the angelic side of creation, and step on the branch that looks to paradise. Or I can sever that connection and step on the branch that looks to hell, that looks to non-existence, that looks to this place of pain and fear for me. And that's not just about what's going to happen in the future. I am experiencing tiny samples of this choice, this manifestation, and the separation right now as well. So every moment I need to make a conscious decision. And something Dr. Yamina said last week was even something like saying, I choose to surrender. It has to be something I consciously do, I consciously say. Even the utterance, it has to be a decision on my part. And then we have this beautiful imagery of pulling out the weeds from our hearts. So doing this sort of like a cleansing process with cultivating awareness. So this week we will continue on the secret of this elusive point. And then just my final reflection is I was reading this, I was actually listening to this Surah Al-Qiyamah, and these two verses I felt were very kind of appropriate. So this is verse 12 and 13. With thy sustainer on that day, the journey's end will be, or on that day, all will end up before your Lord. And then man will be apprised on that day of what he has done and what he has left undone. So this is one translation. And these two, well, native Arabic speakers can maybe help here, but my dad was saying, oops, sorry. All will then be informed of what they have sent forth and left behind. So I know this sort of imagery is also repeated in some other verses of sending things ahead of time and preparing, and these things that have been left behind. So I felt like that connected very well with kind of the last part of our conversation from last week, talking about the branches and what am I choosing every moment here and now, and which branch, which side am I feeding, so to say. So that's where I'll stop. So anyone who would like to share any reflections, and we had some really great reflections in the Halakha contemplation group chat too. So please use that to share anything that comes to your mind that you've reflected on, because it's a good reminder for all of us throughout the week to keep the text and the practice fresh in our minds. Okay. The floor is open.
Thank you, Nurbanu. And thank you all for committing to being here, inshallah, weekly, so that we have the barakah of having this pause to reflect together, I wanted to just read through these take-home points from Dr. Yamina's halakha last week because I find them extremely profound and worthy of repeating, right? The Quran repeats about death often. And Dr. Yamina said, because that repetition is necessary for our well-being. So, mashallah, alhamdulillah. Thank you, Dr. Yamina, for being with us every week. May Allah bless you and continue to inspire you to help us. So, Dr. Yamina was saying that if we're not tasting death consciously, so the Arabic is dha'iqa, dha'iqatul maut, tasting death. Tasting, first of all, means right now in your life, in your world problems, in your day to day. If we're not, and I love these formulas, these sort of simple formulas just clarify everything for me and are worthy of everybody, yani pausing with. If we're not tasting death consciously right now, it means we're not living consciously. And so we know that sleep, okay, that there's a mini death and the mini resurrection that Dr. Yamina mentioned. And even on a moment to moment basis, we are constantly facing, which he's going to talk about. So, inshallah, we can build on it, the change, the transformation, the good with the evil. And each one of those things kills something inside. It's like it kills your, eternal need for goodness. There's like a disappointment, like a pang, something. So that's good because there's an opportunity there to taste the pang of death, which I'm very familiar with. So Alhamdulillah, I think he talks about it again today. And I've been thinking about the people that are no longer here that I love, that were very young. My brother and my cousin, who were in their 30s, and now, we're gonna live the rest of this physical plane without them. Um, Especially because we have family things coming up and they're not gonna be at the table. Um, So he's going to talk about that. Yes, some of us have specific situations here on this, in our sisters group where we have tasted death in a more painful way. And he's going to talk about the wisdom of that, which I'm super excited about. And what Dr. Yamina said was tasting death. The taste is important because taste brings joy and trust to the ruh. And it's not something we can understand intellectually. It's not something that you're going to read or someone's going to tell you in a lecture. This is something that we have to get together, talk about, reflect upon by, digesting it seriously in our lives and experience it through feeling what he's saying. So I loved what she said, that the tasting, if you're not tasting death consciously, you're not living consciously. And that tasting death, which is the pangs of separation, the pangs of disappointment, the pangs of transience, which is constant in so many different ways, that taste is what brings joy and trust to the ruh. And he's going to talk about opposites and this like interplay, this mystery in today's halakha. So Dr. Amina said this is something that we need to complete for our well-being. We need to listen with the heart. We need to feel it. We need to be present with this reality. And it's good news. I just love this so much because there's so much bad news. There's so much death. There's so much pain that I am so ready and hungry and thirsty for this. Insha'Allah Rahman, Insha'Allah Al-Hakim. May Allah grant us the wisdom, this transformation so that it's not painful anymore. Dr. Yamina says, we're leaving to where we came from, what we long for, and everyone that we love is coming with us. Sorry. And finally, the constant real truth. So There's a relative truth, the physical matter that we're experiencing, and there's the constant, real truth, the beautiful names of God, and that anything, quote unquote, dark, bad, that comes from that satanic looks to shaitan is only to serve good. So I'm super excited about this discovery. I hope y'all are super excited about this discovery. The final thing I have here is that anything, so there is this interplay of opposites that Imam Nursi is going to get into now, rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'ah. But it's important to remember, and I starred this, I bolded it, and I underlined it. The bad is not there to be followed or acted upon. Acted upon is tricky because even reacted upon isn't acted upon. So think about all the bad things happening in your life or in the world that we're being tried with. And it's not there to be followed or acted upon. And your reaction without consciousness is doing exactly what we're not supposed to be doing. Feeling it, noticing that it's mulk to serve, your feelings are mulk to serve the purpose. Sorry, to serve the goodness, the most beautiful names of God. And he's going to talk about that, inshallah. So anything that comes to you that talks about a lack of something is from shaitan. He's lying and he deceives human beings through lying and fear. Lying and fear. Lack, lying, fear. I like that. It was easy to remember. Inshallah, we can snap out of it and be like, okay, that thought, we can just mute that thought because it's a lie, it's a lack, it's fear. It's not trusting in the eternal names or the eternal promise. And so, with that, Bismillah.
Thank you, Sarah. What you said reminded me that obviously we have all of our previous sessions on our YouTube channel under a playlist called Angels Resurrection and the Immortality of Spirit. But Nertila also, when she gets a chance, she takes little snippets from the sessions and she makes them into like shorter videos or actual YouTube shorts. So you guys can also kind of take a look at those. We also add our in-person sessions at the DCA on the YouTube channel. So subscribe to see some of that content. And if if you miss any sessions, you can always kind of like go back and listen to them. Okay, if nobody else wants to share, I will start reading, inshallah.
I just wanted to add, Jazakum khair for the recap, both of you. Just wanted to add how reflecting a bit on death was helpful for me this week. There were moments where I got, in everyday life, certain moments where I got frustrated and really reflecting that tasting of death. There were two things going on. One is an interesting pushback against it, like death is real, and a part of me is like, no, it's not real. And we did discuss meditation on death before and so on, and a part of me was very resisting, and a part of it, as it went through, it felt really relieving to, instead of getting caught up in the situation, or playing it in your head. I'm passing, and everything is passing, and we're constantly tasting death. So what matters is what will stay. When you reflect that, why does this matter? And then all of the kind of unnecessary husk was resolved, and just fell away. Like, I'm so upset with this, but actually part of it is just ego, and part of it is it's a fear or something that you could to the extent that I could do this, it was very helpful. And this last time when Dr. Yamina said I have in my notes too, I was also surprised. She said we need to, realize we're constantly tasting death, and this is actually, if you can get into it, it's actually very pleasurable. And that was a very nice, kind of enticing promise. Like there's pleasure in reflecting death, and I got a small taste of it, just a little bit. And so Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, I feel like also the one of the things that we also talk about, and we talked about at the Living the Quran session at the DCA 2 weeks ago was, when we are reading the Quran, not just reciting, but reading a verse and actually staying with it. What is it telling me? What does it mean? What do I understand from it? How does it make me feel? And I feel like one part of that is, looking at a verse like every soul shall taste or tastes death is something that I've never really taken time to reflect on. And last week we were saying, death it's also an ayah. It has a melekut aspect to it as well. It has an angelic side to it. And if I'm not tasting it, if I'm not having that sort of experience, and taste is very, like tasting something is very intimate, I feel like. So all the word choices obviously are divinely selected. So there must be a reason that this is the imagery that I'm being asked to reflect on. Why is it something that I should be tasting? Am I tasting it? What does it mean to do that? So yeah, just a little note on methodology that I felt was interesting for myself. Okay, so let's start reading the secret of this elusive point, and inshallah, we'll see where the discussion takes us. Oops. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. The secret of this elusive point is as follows. As eternal benevolence and pre-eternal wisdom necessitated, the pre-eternally all-wise one created this world to be a place of trial, an arena of examination, a mirror to his most beautiful names, and a page for the pen of divine determining and power. Now, trial and examination are the cause of growth and development, and growth causes the disposition to unfold. And this unfolding causes the abilities to become apparent. And this emergence of the abilities causes the relative truths to become evident. And the relative truths becoming evident causes the embroideries of the manifestations of the all-glorious Maker's most beautiful names to be displayed, and the universe to be transformed into a missive of the eternally besought one. It is through this mystery of examination and the mystery of man's accountability that the diamond-like essences of elevated spirits are purified of the coal-like matter of base spirits, and the two separated out from one another. Thus, since it was for mysteries such as these, and for other most subtle and elevated instances of wisdom which we do not yet know of that the pre-eternally all-wise one willed the world in this form, he also willed the change and transformation of this world for those instances of wisdom. He mixed together opposites for its change and transformation, and brought them face to face. Combining harm with benefit, including evil with good, and mingling ugliness with beauty, he kneaded them together like dough and made the universe subject to the law of change and mutation and the principle of transformation and perfection. A day will come when this assembly of examination is closed and the period of trial is finished, and the divine names have carried out their decree, and the pen of divine determining has completed writing its missives, and divine power completed the embroideries of its art, and beings have fulfilled their duties, and creatures accomplished their acts of service, and everything has stated its meaning. And this world produced the seedlings of the hereafter, and the earth has displayed and exhibited all the miracles of power of the all-powerful Maker, and all the wonders of his art, and this transient world has attached to the string of time the tableau forming the panoramas of eternity. I just love this here. Okay, we'll just come back to it once I finish reading. I think that's actually it's pretty long. Are you guys okay with me reading the full thing, or do you want to stop here and stop here?
I think we could just read it, like Dr. Yamina said, get the full picture and then just reflect
Okay,
as we go. Yeah.
perfect. Okay, for the eternal wisdom and pre-eternal beneficence of the all-glorious Maker, necessitate truths like the results of the examination and trial, the truths of those divine names manifestations, the truths of the missives of the pen of divine determining, the originals of those sample-like embroideries of art, the aims and benefits of the duties of beings, the wages of the acts of service of creatures, the truths of the meanings the book of the universe stated, the sprouting of the seeds of innate disposition, the opening of a supreme court of judgment, the displaying of the sample-like panoramas taken from this world, the rending of the veil of apparent causes, and the surrendering of everything directly to the all-glorious Creator. Since the all-glorious Maker's pre-eternal wisdom and beneficence necessitate these truths, they require the purification of those opposites in order to deliver the word from change and transience, transformation and extinction, and to separate out the causes of change and the matters of conflict. And most certainly, they will bring about the resurrection and purify those opposites in order to obtain these results. Thus, as a result of this purification, hell will take on its eternal and dreadful form, and its inmates will manifest the threat, and get you apart this day, O you sinners. While paradise will assume its everlasting and majestic form, and its people and companions will manifest the address of peace be upon you, well have you done, enter here to dwell forever. As is proved in the second question of the first station of the 28th word, through his perfect power, the pre-eternally all-wise one will give the inhabitants of these two houses eternal and permanent bodies, which will not be subject to dissolution, change, old age, or decline. For there will be no causes of change, which are the cause of decline. So a couple of things stand out to me. Oh, sorry, did you want to say something?
I'll follow your lead, inshallah. I think the whole thing is extremely deep and so relevant. And I think there's so many people struggling with this right now. Maybe, I mean, including myself with a lot of different things. So I hope everybody is locked in right now because it's so important.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, please share what you guys think. Any questions you might have. It's pretty dense. But that's good. It means there's a lot of material. Um, so yeah, the first thing that it came to mind was when we're thinking of this place of trial, arena of examination, so there I feel like multiple things that he is underlining in each paragraph that kind of follow through this section. So the arena of examination and then the idea that things have to be mixed together for there to be a trial, an exam. I just feel like that's so intuitive. That makes a lot of sense to me. If just like thinking of a multiple choice test, where you have the right choice and then you have a bunch of um, other answers that might be true, and you kind of have to choose. But for that process of learning, of confirming what you have learned, the you you have to be given multiple choices and be able to make a decision on which one is the right one. So I just feel like, starting with this idea just brings me closer to what he's talking about. And so the idea that for a growth and development, uh, these things will have to be kind of mixed, but then they will be separated once the trial, the arena of examination is closed. So I like this kind of like imagery here. And there's just so much happening in each paragraph. So here we have this growth and development leads to the disposition, leads to the abilities, leads to the relative truths, leads to evident causes, becoming evident causes, the embroideries of the manifestations of the most beautiful names, and the universe to be transformed into a missive, which I really, really like. The whole universe being a letter, which is very personal, and it carries a message. So this is something that we are always talking about. And then in the next few paragraphs, something that kept my attention was here. When this assembly of examination is closed and the trial is finished, so once he kind of gives us this idea, then he kind of gives us the purpose of everything, I feel like. Divine names have carried out their decree. The pen of divine determining has completed its writing. And then we have, and everything has stated its meaning. I really, really loved that. And then we kind of have a similar thing here. The truths of the meanings, the book of the universe stated. I think these just stood out to me because our study of the 29th word about angels, angelic side of creation has also kind of like equally been about meaning. And also, about beautiful names, the meaning of creation, and my relationship to the meaning as a conscious human being. So I really liked this kind of uh, like finality to it. Everything has stated its meaning. And this world produced the seedlings of the hereafter, which I felt was very relevant, especially our conversation from last week, where we talked about, everything I'm doing here right now has that seedling of heaven or has that seedling of hell. Faith or iman has that seedling of heaven. Denial has that seedling of hell. So this world produces the seedlings of the hereafter. And okay, yeah, I think I'll stop there just because there's so much. Those are the statements about the meaning especially stood out to me. So I'll leave it at that and go ahead, Sarah.
Thank you, Nurbanu, for that big picture. He does. He kind of tells you like what we experience, and then I like the end. He kind of clarifies the wisdom of it all. So I'm gonna take it really slow, okay? Because I'm trying to um guide myself to really believe this. It's one thing to know it, but it's another thing to taste it and really let it be, let your universe be transformed by it, like he's saying. So eternal benevolence, Isra, I guess, or Nur Banu or Dr. Yamina, is that Rahman,
It's
and wisdom?
it's عناية,
Ah,
which is
subhanallah.
like رعاية. It's like care and concern, and like care, not only caring as concern, but taking care of. Also, imtihan and what was it? Trial is تجربة, and imtihan is examination is imtihan, which is different because trial already is a little bit like examination, but tajruba is something you're learning through living, through experiencing. And he's talking about the words, kalimat of the book of the universe, and it's not a missive, it's missives, مكتوبات. مكتوبات السمدانية of the Samad, the one who is so talking about God as the Samad. So these are just for the translation, inshallah. Go ahead, Sarah.
Thank you so much. That's super helpful for me. Super duper helpful for me. And let me tell you guys why. A few sisters that are also here on this call, thank you guys so much for joining. Please, 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 my friends, invite your friends because it's so important for everybody to be here. Ainaya, care, this deep care, and this, let's not even say deep, this infinite care and this infinite wisdom created this world to be a place of trial. And Dr. Mead said trial is tajruba, learning through living and experiencing. Tajruba reminds me of lab, actually. If you take lab in school, like there's one thing to take the class, but labs is your hands on and you're in it. You are in it. So an area of examination, that's different. Imtihan, when the things hit now. So there's learning periods and there's hit periods. And they hit. I'm laughing at myself because I'm like, why am I so surprised every time the trials come and the imtihan comes? Why? He made the world for this reason, and we know that. Like we've learned that in Sunday school, or you've learned it in some sort of lecture on YouTube or something. You've heard it before. So why are we surprised every time something hits as though like Why? Another test, another sickness, another, oh, it's not gonna, all of us, without even going into names, we are all venting on the sidebar conversations. How? Why? God, la. As opposed to, look, the first sentence, this care, an infinitely caring being that has wisdom beyond my imagination, created this world to be a place of tajruba, learning through living and experience, trial, an arena of examination, imtihan. And this is the way that we grow and develop. Trial and examination are the cause of growth and development. It's the way that we're made. So what if the next, oh, let's not even say the next thing, the current thing in your life right now, that's a trial that you can't understand. You can't solve the mystery. I love the words mystery. It is meant to be a mystery. We're all like, why? I don't understand. How could this be happening again? But more money, but more chaos, but more death, but more destruction, but more unhappiness, but more unfulfillment. Why? What? And we're all venting on the sidebar conversations, losing it. We're losing our minds. We're really losing our groundings, trying our best to hold on to some sort of, what does Dr. Anchor? Dr. Amina calls it an anchor. So we're not, the storm doesn't take us far away. As though we're surprised. This is just the means of growth and development. So instead of why, I'm sorry, internally or externally asking, why is this still happening? What are we supposed, like, rather, what growth is meant for me right now? What development is meant for me right now? Because growth causes the disposition to unfold, unfolding of these layers of who we are, all of this unveiling of who we are. We talked last week about becoming more transparent people. He calls them diamonds. Diamonds versus coal. This is a process that we're in. I love that. Elevated spirits, diamond-like essences. This is the process. This is the tajruba. This is the lab. Why are we so surprised? As my question, Dr. Amina, if you have any advice. I really don't know why I'm so surprised every time and why, yani, especially because the name that he uses here is Samadiyya. You said Maktubat Samadiyya. So the more that we realize this reality, accept it. Like what? Just, I'm talking to myself. I'm not talking to y'all like this. I'm trying to talk to myself like this. Accept it. Stop being so shocked every time. This is how we grow and develop. This is his care. This is his love to guide me to unfold and become more diamond-like, elevated, more transparent-like, so that my universe, he says, this unfolding causes the abilities to become apparent. He used the word transparent last time. And this emergence of the abilities causes the relative truths to become evident. It's one thing that we know them as truths in the Quran. Yes. It's all wisdom. We know. But it's not evident. What's evident is that I don't like this. It shouldn't be happening. I don't like it. Why is it? That's what's evident, because we're still operating from a dark, cold place, which is not connected to the reality, to the angels, to the meaning, which is why we're here, right? And and the universe to be transformed. So before the universe, the relative truths become evident causes of the embroideries. Then, like Dr. Yamina says, mashallah, and may Allah preserve you and grant you more opportunities to share with us, to start seeing the beauty in the chaos. That's if we keep coming to halaqah, inshallah. There's my encouragement. If you keep coming, inshallah, we will all transform to see the world in the midst of chaos and see the beauty as evidence. That's the goal. It's a tajruba. It's a practice. It's a learning through living and experiencing. And then the whole universe becomes transformed into a missive, a special letter I think, missive. Oh, mektubat, she says, Samadiya. And I just wanted to, of the eternally besought one, this name specifically struck me as soon as you said it, Dr. Yamina, because Samadiya is the one that you necessarily depend on. You're not in any instance not dependent. So we're like, I don't know, how could this be happening? Why is this happening? You're not meant to know. It is a mystery. It is, and he says it in towards the end. It's a mystery. I think it's the second page where he said it. If we can just jump there real quick. It's a mystery, and it is intended to be a mystery. I think he says, where is it? Nurbanu? No, it was like instance of a mystery. Maybe it was the page right before.
I think it's the end of that first paragraph.
No. It will come, so as not to waste time, but I'm gonna look it up on the sidebar. There it is. Wait. It is through this mystery of examination and the mystery of man's accountability. No, that wasn't it. Anyway, he said something about an instance, like, and we will. There must be a day where everything is closed so that the mysteries that we didn't know are told to us. I love that part. Oh, there it is. It's in the first sentence on the second paragraph. It was for mysteries such as these, and for other most subtle and elevated instances of wisdom, which we do not yet know. So the little mysteries are like the mystery of your essence is a diamond. That's also a mystery that is yet, nobody really knows the essence of that. And the mystery of man's accountability. That's the last sentence of the first paragraph. But then he says, for other most subtle, beyond why this genocide is happening, why your life turned out the way it specifically did with all of that chaos and pain, other most subtle and elevated instances of wisdom which we do not yet know. Yet. Which means we must know, we will know, there will be a day where all those burning questions that you have must necessarily, we need to know the wisdom. But here, you need to know Samad. The one who you depend on because you're meant not to know. Alif Lam Mim, or all these letters that Dr. Yamina brings to our attention. He says these letters to show you don't know. And you're not meant to know. You have to know who you are. You are al-abd, and you need a samad, and you need to make peace with that reality. You are in your lab and you have an instructor. And I just love that. It really just put me in check. This whole first two paragraphs right here, it brought my heart so much ease. And I'm going to pause there and let Dr. Yamina, inshallah, share. Thank you.
Anyone else maybe wants to share?
I'll just, not to take the mic, I'm going to let everybody, but I just love the way the world is made is he mixed together the opposites. He brought them face to face, evil with good, ugly with beauty, and he kneaded them together like dough. Even just hearing that, it's like, it's not a chaos mishap. This is how he made it.
So
Like, why are we
has
so
to
shocked?
be.
Everybody's shocked every day. No, why? What? Including me. It's like we cannot come to peace with it. Because of the way the spirit is made, yes. And there has to be a point of maturity that says, okay, yes, I am the Abd and I am in this lab and we are here to grow and develop so that my abilities become more transparent, more skilled, and that universe will be transformed for me. and we are flowing into paradise every day. Like we are developing, we are cultivating our potentials by getting to know who God is, and that's how we plant seeds. Bismillah. That's all I have to say. Please, if anybody has questions, I know there's plenty of good sisters here on the call with plenty of questions and concerns. So please, Bismillah.
It doesn't have to be a question. If you guys have anything you want to share, anything that the text reminds you, you can also share that, because it might not be like that for everyone else, so it'll still benefit all of us, inshallah.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. I don't you opened it up so that we could speak. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. Yeah, no, this is a very good discussion. I admit that I'm struggling with it. I like it in theory, and I can see the good and the bad and the beauty and the chaos and the learning and all of that in my own life, right? In my personal life. Like even when I've had loss, even when things don't go right, all of that. I think what I am very much been struggling with, as I'm sure all of us have over the last 10 months, is the pain that I'm seeing in Gaza. Knowing that this happened in Afghanistan, it happened in Iraq, and they just didn't have cell phones to show us, or it is happening in Sudan and Congo, and we're just not seeing it. But I think Palestine is a bit different on a number of levels. Like one, it's so the majority of them are Muslim, right? It's home of Al-Aqsa, and it's being paid for by our tax dollars. So I feel like every single day, and I'm just going to speak for myself, I'm contributing to their deaths, right? And like in the beginning, we were seeing some wins in terms of like, oh, people are waking up to the truth, or this person is saying this and that celebrity, and we were getting wins, and there was hope for a ceasefire or something. And now it's just feeling more and more hopeless, right? There's some sham of a debate going on right now that I refuse to watch. They just bombed tents and nobody's saying anything, like crater-sized holes. So like I think what I struggle with, I don't know if I can even communicate this properly, is that while I can see and grow from the trials in my own personal life, I don't understand how I'm supposed to see everything that's going on in Palestine and just be like, oh, it's a trial. It's transient. You know what I mean? Like I can't do it anymore. I think my like heart is breaking for them because I'm also seeing the Palestinians break down like through my phone, right? Like in the beginning they were saying like all we only need God, and they were praising Allah, and you saw all of that, and I'm sure it's still happening, but I am seeing more and more desperation in them, and a very strong desire to die, which I don't blame them. I feel it too, so far away, so I guess it's a question, it's a long question, which is really just like, yes, I can see how this trial in my own life, whatever it is, and I know there's going to be more trials, right? Like my parents are going to pass, all these awful things are going to happen, and I can handle it, but I don't know how to handle witnessing such atrocity, knowing that I'm partially responsible and I can't do anything to save it, and I'm just supposed to watch it and just pray and scream in the streets. That's all I can do. Sorry, that's the end of my question. I don't know if you can even answer it, but that's what I've got.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, not all, like it doesn't always have to be a question. We can just share how we're feeling, how we're reflecting, like reacting to the text also. I think it's very helpful because something that we also talked about recently was being honest with ourselves, and we tend to just like hurry through and just say, oh yeah, it's a test. But like you said, in our hearts, we're not feeling that sort of calm, that certainty, that peace. So there seems to be some sort of dissonance between what we say we believe or what we say in my own personal life, that's okay for me, but I don't see how that applies to that thing there. How it applies to Gaza, how it applies to losing someone I love, you know. So when things get a bit more challenging, it seems harder to live those things that we just take for granted. So I think it's very valuable to share like how we really feel. And I think it definitely opens up the text a bit more. So whatever we kind of like come with, we will take away, inshallah. So if anyone else would like to share anything, please go ahead. And if not, we'll let Dr. Yamina walk us through these first few paragraphs, inshallah.
Thank you also, Sabrina, for sharing that. Oh, go ahead, Isra, please. I was just going to comment on Sabrina and then maybe bring us back to the text with Sabrina's comment and let Dr. Yamina sort of address Sabrina, your feelings, I think, are our reality. And I'm so glad you voiced them. And I do have something to say, but I'll wait for Isra first. Were you going to mention or connect it somehow, Isra?
Yeah, I was just gonna do a similar thing. I think Sabrina is feeling speak for all of us, many of us, and one thing that connects with the text directly here for me is how this is a sifting moment. Sometimes on social media, people have been saying mask off moment. Some people who seem so pro justice seem to be like so lukewarm, or like they call it a mask off moment for them. But I think it's beyond social media. It relates to this sifting that, you know, of souls and how we're responding to this or any injustice. And I think that the idea isn't for us to feel okay with it. I have two things that come to mind. Someone I know, and she's really not into news, or she thinks it's bad to follow the news in general, to go inward, which I agree. I mean, but I thought, you know, we just met at the mosque, and I said, you know, it's really sad. And she said, when you watch the news, it's really sad, but you know, and she said, oh, don't watch the news. And I don't even know if she's she's aware of what's happening. And that struck me as, this isn't what we are looking for. I don't mean we should be glued to the screen, but I mean this sense of yeah, whatever happens in this lowly world, you know, it always happens. That isn't what we're being called for when we, as Sarah was clarifying, explaining that, you know, when we surrender and say, I don't know, but there must be wisdom, and there is wisdom behind it. And there must be ones that I don't know, and I accept that. So that's one thing. And the other thing is the way in which we respond. And that's something I keep thinking. And someone told me today that they don't want to take a side. And I was just, for a while, really upset with that. I mean, what do you mean take a side? You know, she was saying, I don't want polarization. What polarization? You know, just double standards has to be dropped. And I couldn't believe this person I thought was more kind of braver or more pro justice. And like, for her to say that, I was like shocked. And that's, to me, it's easier to say, well, I was like, wow, I get to know this person better. I thought, you know, how could she say this? And I was troubled by that. But then what worries me most is how am I being sifted through this event? And I share the concern that, you know, my tax dollars are directly contributing, the things that I consume might be directly contributing to this, but beyond that, what is my stance to this, and how am I being sifted in this? Because ultimately everybody's going to die. That's something that Dr. Amina used to remind us in earlier halaqas. We are all going to die. It's not like Netanyahu is going to get that piece of land, even if he was able to ethnically cleanse it. May Allah protect. But he's not going to sit there eternally, have that piece of land. Everybody's mortal, and we are all going to be literally dust. I mean, we're dying every day, but we're literally going to be dust in a counted number of days, sooner or later. So what is this about? So that we're flowing with the stream from last class, the stream, two streams being mixed up here, but they are being sifted, and one is going towards hell and one is going towards heaven. And that doesn't make us empathize less, but it does give a bigger picture that this is all part of that being pushed to what was it saying here, that with this examination and this experiencing, that the capacities unfold. So people's endurance, courage, sense of justice, sympathy, compassion, those things manifest. And how do they manifest? Without injustice. And that doesn't mean we are okay with injustice. I don't know. I guess it is how much I could express.
Thank you so much, Isra. Perfect. I'm just going to piggyback on that, and then inshallah, Dr. Amina can please share. So in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end, I'm responsible for me. And that's my career, that's my profession, is me, my choices, my freedom of how I choose to act and perceive the world and the happenings. And there's a very serious obligation in that. The Quran guides that freedom and says, use your freedom to know that A, B, C, D, E, all of the things that we study here in Halakha, that you have a creator, you're returning to this creator, that there are angels communicating meaning to you. Your job is to get to know God through the universe and to seek help through patience and prayer, and to develop those qualities very seriously, because he created the world to be a tajruba, a place of trial and an arena of examination for you to develop your humanity. Not humanity as in how people use it, but your human potential to be who you were meant to be, Khalifa, a representative of God on earth, a mirror, he says. That's the next thing, a mirror to his most beautiful names. You are a mirror, the universe is a mirror, a prism. And the clearer that connection becomes between you and the universe, and the clearer that mirror becomes, like Dr. Yamina says, a clear mirror is the purpose of existence, period. Simple, so easy, so simple. The diamond, like the prism. Its only purpose is that when light shines through the prism, you see all of the beauty. Now, we say, but I don't see any beauty. Yes, because we didn't do what we were supposed to do. So, not you, Sabrina, me. I'm talking about me. I mean, I'm talking to you on the sidebar of all of this. I'm talking to myself first and foremost. When we take the things that are boiling inside of us and we take that to a summit, you go and you do what he says, to seek help through patience and prayer. You use your vulnerability. You understand that you become conscious that I'm the one who has no power, yet all of the power is to connect all of my weakness to his infinite power. Prayer. Now there's degrees of that. There's the 5 daily, there's the extra, there's the tahajjud, which we've been talking a lot about, which is an unfolding, right? It's like a higher experience, which is, it's time, right? Inshallah, we're going to be sending out like a global invite that we want to do, that we all rise up. It's just a time to all rise up at a higher level, to awaken just the unfolding in us. And as we unfold, inshallah, the universe transforms. I mean, that's the promise. You see it completely different, and happenings will happen differently. And Dr. Yamina said we underestimate the power of prayer. I'll pause there, Dr. Yamina.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for your sharing. Again, all these concepts and these realities are all so interconnected. So it's not easy to find a place to start, but instead of starting with the text, I will refer back to the text, inshallah. So when talking about words, words have meanings to me, to us personally, to the extent that we have an experience with what the word is symbolizing. And the very simple one is, if you love chocolate or chocolate cake, when we hear the word, without realizing, we already start smiling. Or because that is not an empty word. Not only I may love the chocolate cake, but also it has been associated in my life with friendship, family gatherings, all kinds of things. So the chocolate cake is not an empty word. It brings a lot, it's very rich with experiences. And so when I hear the word, there is something in my heart. The heart responds to the word. And I'm taking a very simple, so it's neutral. And in the Quran, we are told about the people who, when they hear the word Allah, God, their heart trembles because they feel the awe, because they know God. They live in the presence of His rububiyyah. They are experiencing their ubudiyyah. Their part of our ubudiyyah is the part as human beings in this world that we are in need, and that our needs are being taken care of. And when we acknowledge that our needs are being taken care of, and we acknowledge the source, the rububiyyah, and therefore the one behind the rububiyyah, our Rabb, as God, then we start acting with that consciousness, with that awareness in the name of God, and that becomes everything is potential ibadah, worship. So that awareness becomes a worshipfulness. That's ubudiyyah. So they are not just words. They are realities. So it is the same when we say, we heard now the word imtihan. But here, imtihan is only one of a series in this text there are lots of things explaining why in this world we have good and bad. And imtihan is one of them. But regardless of that, because we heard the word and we have no reference, no context, neither the Quranic context, like the right information, because we heard it here and there. So we don't have the full Quranic concept of imtihan. So we don't even have the right information. Plus, even if we had the right information, that information becomes, will start coming to life when we interact with it, when we start witnessing it in our life, when we are become aware of it. So it becomes a living reality, and it contributes to our growth as and then it becomes part or contributes to our iman. And that iman is a grounded iman. Otherwise, not rejecting something is not iman. That's why we come here. That's what we do in Receiving Noor. That iman is a grounded, lived reality. We grow in iman. And that iman comes as we start to know God as our Rabb. And we can only know God as our Rabb through knowing who we are and becoming aware of our needs and our limitedness. So when we do that, there is no misunderstanding about the believer as if in our misperceived imtihan and iman, we think that like the believer is like a zombie or a robot, doesn't feel sadness or grief or anything. Not at all. The believer is a human being, but what we do with that sadness, how we perceive the sadness and the grief and the heartbrokenness is different. That's where the difference comes. Everyone is going to be grateful to some extent when their needs are being taken care of. But are we cultivating that gratitude and finding the source of the help and the one who is fulfilling our needs and directing that gratitude consciously to our Rabb? And the same with sadness and grief. If I believe without realizing that the sadness is mine and the grief is mine and everything is mine, and I'm not used to going beyond the mulk and beyond the world I'm living in, I'm not even seeing it as a mulk that has a malakut aspect, that everything is an ayah, that everything is here created for purposes and meanings that are, well, some of them will be revealed to us, but many won't. And the purpose of all that is to know our Rabb. We can only trust him when we know him. We cannot worship what we don't know. We cannot trust Allah if we don't know who Allah is. We cannot be worshiping him if we don't even know who he is. And we can only know who he is through knowing who we are and what's going on in the world from the malakut aspect of things as we are taught in the Quran. If we see the world just like the non-believer, then where is God in this? It's just something that fitratan, yes, it is in the fitra, it's true. And therefore I'm not rejecting it and denying it. Yes, but that's not enough. That's just not denying, that's not knowing who he is. And so when we start learning to look beyond, to look at things, the wisdom in things, why they are being, how they are being created, the purpose in their creation. When we start doing the Iqra, read in the name of our Creator, then all those, that sadness, that grief, that being appalled at the injustice, all those, and the helplessness that comes with this, that's the gist of who we are, as Ubudiyya is feeling the helplessness, and that will is supposed to take us back to our Rabb. You alone is the just. You alone is the one who helps. You are the one helping us. You are the one helping everyone else. And so now I can put my trust in him. And now when we come down, when we are not in that helpless, panicky state, if there is something that can be done, then we will be inspired to do it. But then when we live from this perspective, and last week it was about with the reality of death and transience, being aware of the reality of death and transience here and now, always. It's transient. Whatever is happening, the good and the bad, is only now. Yesterday, an hour before is not here, an hour later is not here. In our ghafla, in our mindlessness, we forget about this reality. And so our sabr, our patience and forbearance is lost in the delusion that all the years before and all the years that may come after are all right now, and I have no patience for them. And of course, all this is like an avalanche, like a snowballing. The sadness and the grief is mine, and I have to deal with them. They don't take me to God. My relationship and my connection to God is a theoretical, hypothetical. It's a claim. I have never nurtured that bond. I have never nurtured or cultivated that love that comes when I get to know him, and I get to know him through the ni'mah and the blessings and witnessing the order and the wisdom in his creation and in our own creation, but also in the sadness and the grief and the helplessness. And that's where we are tried, because when everything is well, I say Alhamdulillah, but is it truly Alhamdulillah? Praise and thanks belong to God alone. But actually, without realizing, if I have not gone through this kind of conscious tarbiyah, this conscious training and cultivating of Iman and living in the presence of God here and now, and wherever we turn, we see the face of God, we see the reflection of the beautiful names of God in the good when everything is fine. I cannot do it when it's not okay. So and that's the Malakut side, that's seeing the angels everywhere, that this 29th word is about from the beginning. Then when in time of crisis, I am not going to be able to hand over or see the Malakut side or take the messages from the sadness and the grief, because I will be totally submerged by the sadness and the grief. They take over. I don't know what to do with them. Either I try to run away and suppress them, or I become like the victim of the sadness of the grief, whereas they are created to tell me about this world, to tell me about who I truly choose to be. Do you choose, look at the ugliness of those who choose to not follow the path of Sirat al-Mustaqim, the path of God, the path of righteousness. Look at, theoretically, we would not imagine, we could not fathom that it would, the fruits of that tree are so ugly, so devastating, so appalling, so disgusting. We could not, but the Ruh now feels and experiences. There is no need to go to Jahannam. This is worse. I mean, can't be worse than Jahannam, but like, this is really something we want to run away from. So that sadness, that grief, that anger, that they are all messages from God again, telling us about Him, about who He wants us to be, and about how to prepare for Akhirah. And meanwhile, what we choose to, who we choose to be, and therefore what we choose to do when we have, and to the extent when we have the opportunity to do, and to the extent that we have, is what is going to make the difference between coal and diamond. And the difference between coal and diamond is, why does he say that? Because everyone knows they are both composed of carbon. But at the microscopic level, the arrangement of the atoms is different. Can you imagine? It's all carbon, but the atoms are arranged differently. And so the appearance is different, the hardness is different, the conductivity is different. Like the properties of coal and diamond are totally different, but they are made from the same matter. Again, also, it's a good metaphor for, if we think everything is only the matter part, then, okay, then coal and diamond is the same, but it's not. It's the arrangement. It's the processes they went through when they were being composed. And so these processes we are going through, like diamond has to go through lots of pressure for a long time. And we say, no, I don't want to be a diamond. I'll stay. I want it easy, as if. But Allah is, we are not here. That's what He is. Or let's not say what we are not here for. What are we here in this life for? And who said the one who is healthy? No, so there are two things. I am created with the desire for health. So I strive for health. But if I get sick and very sick, it does not mean that that sickness, I am now worse than the one who is healthy. In worldly terms, yes. And when I'm sick, I'm still made to seek health. But for instance, let's say I am sure I learned that there is no way to be healthy. So it's not the end of the world, because if the world was permanent, it would be a problem, because I'm given the desire for health, and then I'm given a sickness that has no healing. But since this world is transient, it means it's passing. It means right now it's passing. A few minutes before is not here. Then who said it's not in itself, it's not better or worse, but if I make use of it to acknowledge and live and experience my need, my dependence on my Rabb, and how much I need help, how much I need His help and the health. And when you're not healthy, lots of other things are going to be also limited. The more I make peace with that and accept it, and I understand the gist, the core of who I am, that right now nothing belongs to me and nothing is under my control, and everything is being gifted to me, then if that is going to help me to witness this and experience it بحق اليقين, with the certainty of living it, not only knowing it, then the one who is in that situation may be much higher, and he's got like a fast lane to paradise, to fulfill the purpose of this life. But if I take that sickness to complain, to be unhappy about it, as if the purpose of life is only this worldly, this dunya, this life, then even if I was healthy, I would not give it its how do you say, its due and its gratitude. So it won't do me any good anyway. But for the one who knows God and who chooses to surrender to reality, those situations can be opportunities. So it does not mean that we don't feel anything. No, it is the feeling we have to feel. Otherwise, how would I know? If someone is really hungry, then that person knows and acknowledges the value of food much more than someone who has all kinds of food. So it came to Sarah talked about how we vent, and that's because we're stuck in the mulk and unaware of the malakut. We may know about it. Most Muslims don't even know about it. I mean, they know about it maybe as a word, but even if we studied it, if I do not practice reading, qira'ah, Quran, Iqra bismi rabbika, the first revealed word. We don't even practice the first revealed word. Can you imagine? The first revealed ayah. So if I am not practicing the Iqra, the read in the name of God, seeing the names of God in everything that happens within and without me, then we will start seeing the malakut side, the angelic side, the angels. So we will start seeing the beautiful names of God in everything. And when we start becoming aware of that and acting accordingly, because then we will become, once we do that, each step is a choice. When we make the choice to live accordingly, then the diamond, from coal to diamond process starts. And then we'll start to know God as our Rabb, the Rabb of everything, Rabbul Alameen, and we start trusting him. Trust means there are instances when we don't see the wisdom, but I know that I can't know. I am so limited. I only know what Allah reveals to me. And so if I don't understand the wisdom in many, many things that look to the myriads of beautiful names of God, I don't say there is no wisdom. That's so arrogant. I just say, I don't understand, but I trust that Allah is all merciful, all powerful. If something is happening, it's happening bi'idhnihi, with his permission, that there must be khayrun kathir, lots of goodness in it. And so I surrender. I trust him, I make tawakkul, and I surrender. And when we surrender, there is no helplessness. There is still sadness. If someone is sick, there might be still pain, but the pain of someone who is sick and rejects the situation and is angry at the situation is not the same as the pain of someone who is accepting it. I don't know, but I trust my God. He knows, and I trust that He does not create anything without meaning and purpose. So that acceptance, that surrender makes things much more bearable. And knowing that there is only the now and everything is flowing to akhirah, that also, there is that the ruh is more than hopeful. There is certainty that everything is unfolding, is going into the hereafter, where everything will be, the good and the bad will be separated. Everyone will get his due. There will be full justice, but it seems like it's far. But as the Prophet ﷺ says, "Kullu atin qarib." If it is coming, it's close, and it's close. It's close as it's so close because once we leave this world, afterwards, the concept of time is, when we are in ghafla, when we are stuck in the mulk, is based on a misperception of the world. Because when we are unaware of the reality of transience, the reality of death here and now, everything is flowing, then we don't have the right perspective. If you are inside the water, you can't see is it an ocean, is it a river, is it you're in it, or is it just a small little pool? Or so when we get out and we become aware of this reality, our perspective change and our perception of things change. And of course, the perception is eventually to have the perception that we are taught in the Quran, to look at everything from the Malakut side, the side that looks to God, the side that looks to His beautiful names, that side that looks to the angels bringing the messages from the unseen. Iman bil ghaib is the start of our journey. Then the perception is totally different. Time doesn't feel like it's endless. My death seems very far. Akhirah, almost unreachable, infinite. No, my death is not very far. My death is every day. And the day that I will leave will be one of those days. I'm already or at least I can look at the past and have certainty of my death. And so akhirah is very close. So we don't lose hope from God, as we are told in the Quran. Only the qawm al-kafirun, the disbelievers, lose hope in God, because they don't know who God is. They are not witnessing His rahmah, His mercy, His care, His loving care, His power, His wisdom here and now. So they can't trust Him. It's not something that I say, okay, I'll trust God. Trust is something that is nurtured. And so it's something that is experienced. The more I experience that, even the things that I thought were bad, eventually I see that they were there for a purpose. And of course, I have to also be convinced of the purpose of our creation and make peace with it, that we are not here for this world. And if I think we are here for this world to make achievements and things in this world, then I'm in for a big disappointment, because this world, people just get their career done, everything, and they write their papers and they publish and things. Then they retire, and then a few years later, they're not in this world. So it doesn't make sense. So we have to wake up before. And the purpose of this world, which is explained at the beginning of this paragraph, the secret, the mystery of this elusive point, that needs to be our true belief, means the reality with which we live, with which we perceive the world. Then everything will start changing. Even in the most horrible things, there is God. And the thing, it becomes unbearable because we don't see it as transient. We're stuck in it. And he talks here about الحقائق النسبية, which is the relative truth, and the wisdom of why there is evil within good. And he gives a lots of examples, but you can think of it like the last example was it because this world is it's like all going into the pool of the hereafter, here and now. It's not after we die. It's already, all our past is already gone there before us. Where is the حقائق oh, in the first paragraph, was it? Yes, in the first paragraph. And he says the emergence of the abilities. Let's start from the beginning. This inaya, this benevolence, this care, this loving care and wisdom necessitated that the all-wise one created the world to be a place of learning through experience, an arena of examination, because there is no learning if there is no examination. So we are here to learn. And the examination is part of the learning process, a mirror to his beautiful names, because we are here to learn the beautiful names. And a page for the pen of divine determining and power, qadar. So divine determining is qadar and his power. So everything is being written right now. Everything is being written by the pen of power. There is nothing outside God's control. So now this learning through experience and examination are the cause of growth and development. Why are we learning? And this learning is, like Sarah said, in the lab, like it's learning through life, learning skills, or as Isra was saying, through this learning, all the beautiful names are coming through us so that we embody them, because without embodying them, we can't really truly know them. I say Allah is compassionate, but I don't show any compassion. I don't feel any compassion. So I am saying a word, I don't know what it means. I'm saying Allah is generous, but I don't want to share anything. If Allah is generous, everything that I have is the fruit of his generosity. He's being generous to me, everything is being given. Then I cannot not give. In the beginning, of course, I say Allah is generous, so Allah is the owner of everything, yet I feel I am the owner. This is mine, so I am not going to give it. But that's why we learn through tajruba, through the Quran. We are told in the Quran, and we are taught to exercises, to practice it, to do it. So it says you give, you share, you take care of others. As I start giving, 1, 2, 3, and then I give, and then I see I give, but things still come. I give things, and it becomes, oh, now I truly learn that he is the giver, and he is generous, and he is compassionate, and I start giving in his name, because I can give and think I'm the giver. So as I'm giving, I witness that he's the giver, the one who is making me, because that sense of giving starts developing like muscles. That sense of compassion starts developing, of helping others starts growing. And then I start witnessing that this feeling is not mine. It is also given. It is growing, and I'm just watching it. And I witness that I am, when I'm giving, he's the giver. When I'm doing an act of compassion, he's the compassionate one. Now my witnessing of his names is increasing. So there is no knowing God with his name without the growth within us. Otherwise, it's just a claim. And the cause of growth and development causes the first one, the disposition is actually isti'dad, which is more like potential to unfold. And this unfolding causes the abilities to become apparent, because the potential to be diamond, the potential to mirror the names of God is in every human being. But to which extent they will become our ability, our reality, is our choice. And this emergence of the ability causes the relative truth to become evident. So this relative truth, and this relative truth causes the embroideries of the manifestations of the beautiful names to be displayed, and the universe to be transformed into missives of the summit. And it is through this mystery that the diamond-like essences of elevated spirits are purified of the coal-like matter of base spirits. Can you imagine if we didn't go through this life, and then everyone will be together for forever? People who are the genocidal person and the very compassionate, loving person will be together for eternity. Isn't it better to have a seemingly rougher time, but everyone is separated, and within each individual, within each one of us, we are given the opportunity to cleanse and purify ourselves as well, because we start also seeing the ugly side within us and seek help and ask for help and make istighfar and cleansing, so that when we go to that, inshallah, Dar al-Akhirah, the realm of the eternal abode of the hereafter, we are cleansed of the unwanted, the ugly. And it's easier to see the ugliest when we see it outside, because when it's within us, we tend to suppress it and cover it up. So we are given the opportunity to cleanse ourselves and to be there with the diamond-like people, and all the rest, the ugliness will be sifted away. And that ugliness is what creates hell. Like, I always feel like it's not like, even if there was no hell, what some people, the way they are and what they do necessitates hell. That's hell in itself. They are creating it. So we don't want to be together. This حقائق النسبية, this relative truths, is when he says, again, I can't find the text, the good and the bad, the ugly and the beautiful come together, are created together, so that, first, because we know things through contrast, through their opposites. Otherwise, we would not be able to know the beautiful names of God. It means that is how we are taught the beautiful names of God. Through our helplessness, we know that God is the helpful, the powerful. Through our powerlessness, we appreciate power. And through the fact that we can get a little pieces of power like things, then we get to appreciate it more. It's like we can see, but our seeing is, first, it's not inherent to us. It can leave us anywhere, anytime. Plus, it's very limited. So it's given to us only to understand and appreciate that God sees everything. Physically, metaphorically, however you want to understand it, includes all of it. So through opposites, we learn. That's the only way we can know who we are, what we're doing here, who God is, everything, through opposites. So we can't say, why isn't there only good? If there was only light, maybe we wouldn't have a word for light, because we wouldn't be aware that it is light. But because there is darkness, through the contrast, we have words for them. And because there are many levels, darkness, it's very light, less light, more light, and we get degrees. Look at the colors, for instance. There are 3 primary colors: red, yellow, blue. And you combine them. You can combine within each color. You can have lighter and darker. And we can combine 2 colors together, 3 colors together. And those combinations, we can also vary the color mixed. And so we can have an infinite number of tones and hues. So infinite colors from 3 colors. And so it's the same with beauty, because there is an ugliness or a lack of beauty. It interferes with beauty, and suddenly we become aware. We say more beautiful, less beautiful. We're not talking about relative, which one you think is beautiful or not. It doesn't matter. The fact is there are many kinds and many degrees. And so we become acquainted with the name of God of beauty and the vastness, because we are limited, the vastness and the infiniteness and the limitlessness of this beauty, because we are also made to feel it in different ways. There is beauty, physical, colors, forms, words, meanings, sounds, all kinds of different things. But we all talk about beauty of this. Subhanallah. So now beauty becomes something that pervades everything. All those limitless degrees are the relative truths. And al-haqa'iq al-haqiqiyya, the true or the real truths, all pertain to the beautiful names of God, but we would not be aware of them weren't it for the fact that the opposites come together. So that's why he explains, I don't know, was it here or like, so it is good that there is evil. And the fact that evil is here, we are talking about the big chaos, but it's because we don't have the right perspective. Always evil is a minority because evil is not created for itself. It is created to serve the purpose, to serve goodness, to bring out the variety and the endless degrees of goodness. And so from the purpose of its creation is good. But we go and focus on one thing and we say it's everywhere, it's chaotic. Look at life. There are human beings. How many people are living somehow peacefully? And how many other living beings, animals and birds, and they're all living, and trees, and how much of the world and everything is being, this inaya is being or in order, wisdom, everything is going according to the expected order. The sun is still rising and setting this right time. But something is going on disturbing, just like in our life, we have something that really disturbs us, and it can be very painful as well. It doesn't mean that it doesn't. But imagine when it has no purpose, how much more painful it is. If we know that it has a purpose and it is transient, then the same pain is much more meaningful now and therefore less painful. And that pain becomes the mirror to many beautiful things. So again, it's because of our shall we say, being stuck in mulk, not having learned to be living with iman and ihsan. And so the words are just empty words. They are not something that ground us in that reality, that all this sadness and anger and injustices and things, they totally control us, and we can't go beyond them and see beyond them. And it seems like the whole world is just about that. No, that's the news on the news, but there is the news every day. We wake up is news. The sun is rising on all the earth, all the inhabitants of the earth. Everyone is given breath. Those news, we are not used to listening to the news that we are told in the Quran. يولج الليل في النهار ويولج النهار في الليل. Every day we live this reality, and it's being broadcasted everywhere. If it doesn't happen, it won't be one place. It will be the all living beings, not all human beings, will be affected. So because we are not living in this awareness and in this not overwhelming, but this gratitude that so much that it can be overwhelming, because we feel like there's so many things to be grateful for. Within that perspective, something disturbing is happening. And the same one who is taking care of everything is the one who is making that disturbing thing happening, and is the one who is making me disturbed, because we are disconnected at all levels. we take all the goodness for granted. When something unwanted happens, all my feelings are mine, not his. And now, where is this? What is this now? Of course, I cannot go out. I've put myself into a, how do you say, like a cocoon of steel chains. There is no way I can make sense of what's happening, because everything is happening as if on its own. And then I am the one who doesn't like what's happening, and it's happening again horizontally, because some nasty, vicious creatures are doing nasty things. And we're totally helpless. What can we do now? And now you tell me pray. Who cares about prayer? But if everything is under his power and I witness it and I have certainty, the first thing, the feelings come from him, I go back to him. So prayer now is very powerful. He's the most powerful one. When I go back to God, shall we not do anything? If there is anything to be done, you will know, and you will be able to do it, because we won't be stuck in fear. As we were told in the beginning, the shaitan is always like, we live in a lie. The lie is that everything is happening on its own and it's here forever. And therefore it seems like there is lack, because we're focused only on what's missing. And therefore, of course, there will be fear. Fear of death, fear of what will happen. There is no meaning, no purpose. We don't know where we are going. And shaitan means also fear and ingratitude. I'll make most people ungrateful. So if we focus on the gratitude for what we have, then we will be grateful that we are, alhamdulillah, that we are feeling like this when a genocide is happening. Can you imagine if I couldn't feel like this? We would be like beasts. I mean, hasha, even beasts are not like that. There's no word for that, because even beasts, even animals have fitri compassion. So alhamdulillah that we are feeling like this. It also, that is an evidence that our Rabb is the one who loves justice and makes us dislike injustice. He loves goodness. He loves, and that's why he's making me reject all the opposite of what he is and what he loves. So let's start with the first, that those feelings are given to us. They make our Rabb known to us. They make us known to ourselves, how helpless, how powerless we are. And within that powerlessness, there is power, because now we don't have fear of the other, because we know that everything happens only by divine will. And so now even dua with your words, because it comes from the heart and because it's connected directly to the power of the source of power, it is powerful. And dua is the most powerful thing. Even when we act, we should be acting as dua in the name of God. Inshallah. And so it becomes now, instead of feeling all our energies being taken away, we feel that sadness, that anger, that will make us wake up and pray for not only these people we are hearing about, but Allahu A'lam, so many other people who need help, and we're not even aware of it. And alhamdulillah that this world is transient, and alhamdulillah that Allah is in charge. And may Allah, that's why we make dua, that Allah uses us in His path so that we serve in His path. And serving in His name, serving others, is the living gratitude, living ibadah. So we become willing, we want to serve, we want to do something, please, even if that means praying together. Let's have groups. Praying together has much more power than praying alone. At the same time, let's pray together. That's the least we can do. And maybe afterwards we will be inspired with doing something else, inshallah. But our doing is not, but it didn't change anything. We are not doing it for changing. Allah is in charge of the outcome. We are responsible for how we perceive things and our choices and how we respond. And the outcome is not in this transient life, but it's for akhirah. And akhirah is really, this world is really transient. Like, I come from a place that went through more than 100 years of cruel, brutal, vicious colonial massacres, like thousands of people in few days, many massacres like this. Millions of people died. So some people died, they were killed, they were tortured, and some people had like what we call normal life and died. Now in perspective, after 60 something years, you feel like those who stood up for haqq, stood up for injustice, resisted the oppressors, who came in and started just bringing settlers, killing people, taking their lands, their homes, their everything. And afterwards, for years, people were oppressed, but in very brutal ways, very similar to what's going on now in Gaza. The whole population went through this. Growing up with most people around you are orphans, like mostly fathers, but some of them brothers, cousins, everyone has been killed, has been concentration camps, people displaced. It looks like chaos, but after now you see, or even like growing up, everyone is praying for those shuhada. And you find out that those who were scared, the majority of people who were oppressed, but they were scared and didn't take a stand, were trying to be invisible. But of course, they were also, some of them were killed because they would bomb or whole villages and things. Those who consciously took a stand went, and those are the ones who, by the way, were some of them were killed, but some of them were killed after being tortured in concentration camps. Some people went out of the concentration camps alive. Time passed. who is in a better? The one who lived life with, like didn't give it its, didn't have the courage to stand up and died, or the one who felt they had to do something and did the best they could do? It seems that they went through very cruel hardships. But as far as Akhira is concerned, who is in a better situation? Maybe maybe there and there, it seems difficult, but we have to learn. I mean, isn't it better for the one who took a stand and gained or upgraded their eternal life forever? We can ask ourselves, is it worth it? And it's not like we get to decide. Once we go through that, what do we choose? We choose from what we are given. How do we make the best of what is given to us? When in plenty, how grateful we are. And how much sabr do we have on that conscious gratitude? When there is crisis, how much sabr we have, how much do we trust, and how much focused on akhirah we are, how much do we forget about akhirah.
Thank you, Dr. Amina. Yeah, I think one of the things that I was reflecting on this week especially was, and I shared it with the group, was that if I don't make a conscious effort to keep this in the forefront of my mind, to be the main focus of my day, it's very easy to go back into a state of ghafla or heedlessness, and it's not always pleasant to be dragged back into being conscious of those things. So better to cultivate it while in those moments where, you know, I can focus on things that I can be grateful for, and things I can reflect on. So that's my hope, inshallah. So let's take some final comments. We are way over our time, and let's try to end in like 10 to 15 minutes max, if that's okay.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Yamina. Thank you, Nurbanu. I'm grateful that this is a recording because there's so many pieces of what Dr. Yamina just shared that need to be smaller bits that inshallah we can focus on and go back and listen to. So inshallah, to summarize and have the heart work for the week of reflection, and inshallah Nurbanu and I decided that we're going to pose a midweek question for accountability to check in on the heart work for those committed to growing together. If you're not in the heart work group, it's called Receiving Nur Contemplation, then message me or Nurbanu or Isra, and inshallah we'll add you so that we can continue this conversation throughout the week and hold ourselves accountable to what we need to be doing. So I love the reminder of what the Quran calls news. Pay attention to his news before you start consuming the news that is being live streamed and emphasized in a very chaotic way, because it is chaotic.
Quran
We need
news
to be
is also
grounded.
being live streamed, live created.
Say it
Quran,
again, Urbano.
I said Quran news is also being live streamed. It's like live created every moment.
Every moment, the live stream. I love that. Every moment there's a live stream of his news, and I loved the way Dr. Yamina said it is in his Quranic language. This is my news. Look outside. Are you paying attention to my news of what I'm doing? And that's the grounding anchor of Rububiyyah. I need to be able to see constantly his care and his love in the fruit, in the water, in the sky, in the shade, in the tree, in the breeze, and really feel that love and let that swell in my being and let it, I need charge it between my prayers throughout the day. Let the prayer points be anchor points where I'm saying, yes, I come back and I witness that you're taking great care of me. You are Rabbil Alameen. You're taking great care of me in the whole universe. And let my heart swell with that gratitude, like Dr. Yamina says, in between the prayers through being connected to the world, the creator's news of his care. So I think that could be a great emphasis in our weekly group, to really focus on those reels, those streams, those videos that catch our attention. For those that are still committed and with us, thank you for your patience. This is something that is our life purpose. So alhamdulillah, kudos to everybody for choosing to be here still. And only then are we grounded enough to look at the chaos and remember from a place of grounding and trust of who we're dealing with actually. And the second homework assignment that came to me was what Dr. Yamina said about venting. We are a species who love to vent, especially women. So I challenge myself and my friends, inshallah, the ones that are not here, then feel free to buddy up and remind one another. Like the Quran says, remind, remind, remind. Dr. Yamina reminds us. Anybody who receives the reminder is their responsibility to practice the reminder and then remind somebody else. So what names of God can you see in your own feelings and in the situation that happened? What did you find out about yourself? What did you find out about God? Can you take it to God? Because if you're not really feeling your absolute helplessness and neediness in that situation, and taking it to God willingly in a surrendered way, in a way that lets go and feels elevated by letting go, as opposed to resisting and being angry, because that means we're not reading, we're stuck in the mulk, we're stuck in the dark side, and we don't want to do that. So I thought that was also easy homework to challenge ourselves to do. And I love the last questions Dr. Yamina said, in the calamities, how much patience do you have? That's the litmus test. That's kind of your self-assessment. Some sisters were saying in another group chat, oh, I wish I could have a self-assessment of how we're doing. Like, how am I doing right now in my barometer with God? Well, how patient are you in your calamity? How much are you trusting in your calamity? How much are you rejecting and ungrateful in your calamity? And that is the barometer of where you stand with God. So I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Amina. How much do we trust? And the final one, which is the one I forget the most, how much focus on akhirah are we? How much do we forget about akhirah? So inshallah, maybe I'll pose that as 3 questions in the homework group. Jazakumullah khair for joining us. Thank you so much. And I will let anyone else who wants to share. If not Nurbanu, then inshallah, maybe you can do the closing. And again, I want to thank Dr. Yamina for being patient with us and guiding us through this weekly tarbiyah, this weekly tajribah of really coming back experiencing the universe all week and then coming back to this place as a sacred learning space to come back to the reality. Alhamdulillah, Jazakillah khair, Dr. Yamina and Nurbanu for holding us down for the structure and helping us stay on track. And thank you all, because I think we spend hours in university all day for decades, and then 2 hours or 2.5 hours of a weekly halaqah for me is the bare minimum. Otherwise, we're not really doing what we're supposed to be doing. So thank you all for your patience with the time.
I love you, Sarah. Such a gentle voice, and then just those harsh truths, like amazing.
But
Uh,
it's true. And let's
it's
emphasize that, because people are so quick to be like, oh, I need to sleep. I need to, it's too long, it's too this. But how many decades of your life did you spend on your career that you think is your reality? And so here we are trying to unlearn that. And we should take it very serious, inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay, so I think next week we will keep going with the elusive point, secret of the elusive point, maybe the last few paragraphs, inshallah. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة على رسولنا صلوات